it was a big song, very popular, made it into
Yeah.
other movies. In my opinion, the superior Cary Grant is divorced, but his ex is getting married the next day. Movie of 1940 is Here's Girl Friday, directed by Howard Hawks.
And yeah, this one's a whirlwind.
Yeah, I mean, this is like kind of, I think, the movie that kind of sets the precedent for like Howard Hawks movies are about people who are talking faster than anyone has ever talked. Everyone in this movie talks like Jamie Taco from I Think You Should Leave.
Nice reference there. Yeah.
And it rules. I love absurdly overpaced 1940s dialogue.
Yeah, surprisingly, something about the way that Bringing Up Baby was structured in comparison to this, I felt so much more exhausted with Bringing Up Baby, and I felt kind of invigorated by this movie.
Hmm.
Um,
Bring Up Baby was also Howard Hawks, right?
yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was another Cary Grant, Howard Hawks, Katharine Hepburn movie
Right. Yeah.
where a lot of stuff happens and people talk really fast, right?
Hmm. I think that the talking is faster in this movie. I think though.
Yeah. I think that the thing that kind of stressed me out about Bringing Up Baby was this kind of like element of chaos to what's happening where like you don't know what's good, like everything's really hectic but you also don't know what's going to happen next, where this movie is everything's moving really fast but it's about everyone getting on the same page about something, right?
Mm.
It's about
Hmm.
someone going, no, I've turned the newspaper life away, like I'm not going to be that guy anymore. And then like you see a news story happening on one side of the frame and she's just looking at it like, oh god, I need it. I need to be a newsman.
I do love how this movie kind of treats working for a newspaper as like an addiction, where it's
Right. Yeah.
like she's like, no, I'm done. I can never go back to that life. Like it's behind me. Like I want to live a boring life. I want to like be a housewife. I want to live in a house. All this stuff. And then right, it's just like, but there's a story here. God damn it. And it's great. Yeah.
This is like a kind of similar movie to Civil War in terms of just being about like the
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 power of the
the
press.
power of the press, but also the kind
You
of
gotta you gotta sacrifice.
like the disturbing amorality of the press, you know? Uh
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie almost is kind of more celebratory of that amorality. I think Civil War is very much being like, I think you think that that movie has more of a pro amorality stance than I do.
yeah. This one's rocking with the amorality because it's having fun, you know?
Right.
It's about like part of her being a newsman, as she calls it, is being a scumbag. And like the guy who she's engaged to who gets in the way, compared to all this other stuff, there's nothing wrong with him. He's fine. He's a
Yeah.
regular guy. He's
He seems
nice.
like a very stand up guy. That's true.
But like he's just not a scumbag, and she's addicted to being a scumbag.
Right.
Just like Cary Grant is like, I'm gonna be a scumbag and show you how much fun it is, you know?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, which feels very like the movie knows that. The movie knows that it is kind of like working for a newspaper isn't necessarily this like addictive like lifestyle thing. I think there's kind of a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie being like, we know that this isn't actually what newspapers are like, right? One of the first things I thought of watching this movie is all of the Daily Bugle scenes in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Seem very, and I know that Sam Raimi loves like Howard Hawks and like 40s movies also. So it does seem very much like that is a pretty direct kind of like not necessarily a reference, but I mean like an influence, I guess.
Right.
Where he was like, "Oh, I have newspaper stuff in my movie. Okay, it's gonna be like
They're
this
gonna
one
be like
today."
this, yeah.
Yeah, but I think even this movie might have even influenced like how Stan Lee approached that stuff too.
Hmm.
I think that this movie kind of, I don't know if it necessarily created this, but it definitely, I think, helped popularize the image this movie presents of what a newspaper is and like what working in a newspaper is like, which is like incredibly hectic, fast paced, which I think is just true. But then I don't know, the kind of thing of like, a bunch of reporters who are like competing for stories, who've all got the little thing in their hat, like yelling into candlestick phones. Because it's like that's been in some of like the earlier 30s comedies, right? There's like newspaper people. They're always backstabbing. They're like they're trying to find stuff. But I think this movie just cranks it up to such a degree.
Yeah, I think it's like it's like kind of asking what if the kind of journalists from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington were like about like twice as amped up and uh
On twice as much cocaine.
old-timey cocaine uh
Yeah,
and yeah, and then we're just trying to find whatever story was out there.
yeah.
They're
There's also
roaming the streets for stories.
Yeah, there's an SNL sketch that I think is like very directly about like supposed to be this movie that is like making fun of like really fast paced 40s dialogue. Have you seen that?
No.
I'll throw that in the episode description or whatever.
Hmm.
There is a plot to this movie, but I feel like it takes place mostly in like the prison like press room.
Yeah,
I mean, it's based on a play, and it's very obviously based on a play.
because it
I think
has
if
like two
anything,
locations.
it has 2 locations, it's all dialogue. I think if that is my as much as I love the dialogue in this movie, that's kind of my biggest gripe with it is that it feels very stagey.
Like, yeah, not it's hyper real.
But I mean it not so much in like the tone or sort of like its approach to like the reality of the movie, but just in terms like you can very easily tell this is based on a stage play.
Hmm.
And it doesn't feel like they changed a lot. It doesn't feel like they're necessarily trying to do that much in terms of adaptation, in terms of making it a movie. It's not that it doesn't look boring. It has, stuff going on. There's a couple, good editing bits and, where it's like cutting between all the different people on phones. But for the most part, I don't know, it feels a little bit removed, a little bit kind of theatrical in that sense where it's like kind of like a lot of the early talkies did. But thankfully this movie I think has a lot more kineticism in its blocking and in its
The blocking
the
is there.
way in
Yeah.
which it's
I mean, I
presented.
wonder though, right? Like, you think about like especially when you compare it to like a more boringly shot early talkie. Like, I think that those movies really suffered from that, and at least for me with this movie, it I think that if it was being too indulgent with its visuals, then it would be giving you too much
It would be like
information.
sensory overload at that
Exactly.
point.
Like
Yeah.
like it almost like the cinematography almost needs to step back to just allow all of the chaos to be in the dialogue.
Right. I mean, that is the thing that I think I'm intrigued to see, like, to revisit a lot of like 40s movies I've seen before because that is something I think overall is something that's kind of nice about a lot of 40s movies is how much they tend to shoot stuff in just like a single wide master shot and really have a lot of the movement that you're seeing just in blocking, right? It's like
Hmm.
the blocking in these movies is usually really good in a
Hmm.
way that I think a lot of more modern movies don't really do that as much with blocking.
Right.
I think this movie feels a little bit too skewed towards the like theater side, and I
That's
I
fair.
wanted a little bit more kind of like more cinema in it somewhere. I'm doing the like hands, rubbing my fingers together
Yeah.
because saying cinema in any context sounds pretentious to me, but I also understand its use as a word.
Well, yeah, when you talk about the plot, like there is this kind of like thing about like a wrongfully imprisoned person, and then like they uh the kind of person in charge like knows that he's innocent, but then he shot a cop and the cop is black and he needs like the vote of like black people in the town that he's in,
Yeah,
and like it is such a kind of mess where it's hard for me to tell like if it's really trying to say anything with all of that stuff. But like in a way it's
Hmm.
almost like it has this like detached view of the political implications of what's going on that the newspaper people do, right? Like the movie
Right.
itself does, where it's like I don't care what's going on. They're all like all these politicians, like and everyone around me, they're all scumbags. I'm just here because it's thrilling to get a story, and
Hmm.
and like I know what's dramatic, and they almost like frame scenarios in order to make them more dramatic, which is bad
Yeah.
journalistic ethics.
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, right. They are fully right. Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. What are their character names? Walter and Hildy are like fully like yeah, like controlling the situation in order to like get the story and also to kind of like pump the story up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like they become active participants in it, which yeah, is not great journalistic ethics. But you know, this movie is not concerned with ethics. This movie is concerned with getting the story.
Yeah, if we're to compare it to the last movie too, like Cary Grant, I think pushes right up to the edge, like pretty close to the edge of being too much of a jerk to like feel good about, you know? But there's
Mm.
still like enough of a playfulness to what he's doing that like even though he's doing legitimately bad things,
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's it you can still be on board with it.
right. He's like so manipulative, and he's like doing all this stuff like behind people's backs and kind of to try to like control the like he gets the fiance arrested what like twice, three times.
Yeah.
One thing I really love about this movie is how right because it's Cary Grant used to be married to Rosalind Russell's character, like but they're divorced now. They both used to work in the newspaper. Now Hildy is like, I'm out. I'm done with that life. I'm marrying a boring guy. I'm moving to the suburbs. And he's sort of like, nah, I know you. You'll never actually be able to quit this biz. And he keeps kind of like, right, trying to get the fiance arrested and like sending all of his sort of like goons out. He like knows all these sort of like low level criminals because he's like, he's been around doing journalism, so he like knows all who all the local criminals are. But then it's funny that Hildy also knows who all the criminals are. So then whenever they show up, she's like, "No, I know who you are. Like, get out of here." like there's the bit where her fiance is on the phone. What's his name? Bruce, right? And he's like, "Oh, like there's like this woman approached me, and like now I'm in jail." And he's like, "A woman, huh? Is she blonde?" Like, yay high. Is like she's like, "Yep, I know exactly who that is. You're not in trouble. Like, I know who's behind this." Like, it's all of Walter Cary Grant's like schemes. Like, she knows what all his schemes are, right?
Right.
Already. So like whenever he's trying stuff, she's sort of like, I see you.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing.
It's a couple of savvy people trying to like kind of outmaneuver each other. Like
Yeah.
one of them is trying to get out and resist the temptation to be a newsman again, and the other one is trying to get her to drop the other guy and marry him instead and get her to become a newsman again.
But I think it's very funny that he wins in the end. Like
Yeah.
she does abandon her fiance and go back to being a newspaper man and remarries Cary Grant in like a whirlwind of like chaotic energy where they're just like, oh, we're so amped up. We just broke the biggest story of the year. Yes, let's go get married in Niagara Falls.
They said they were going to spend a week in Niagara Falls, and I was like, what do you do for a week in Niagara Falls?
I've
Like,
been there. I don't know how you spend a week there. Yeah, it's like it's kind of it's not be treated as like a happy ending. It's like, oh hey, like the couple got together. But it is this kind of there's a bit of kind of acidity to it, I think. And I think
mhm,
the movie knows that there's a bit of acidity to it.
right.
She is abandoning her sort of like, yeah, it's like boring life or whatever, but she's sort of like getting roped back into this thing that she wanted to get away from. And that's where the movie ends. It's like, yep, no, she's going back to being a newspaper
I mean, I think
person.
if you look at it as an addiction metaphor, sure, but like to me,
I don't really
it's
think it's supposed to be an addiction metaphor. I do think it's supposed to be like, no, this is something that she genuinely loves doing and is very good at.
that's the thing. It's
And
like
therefore,
I think
there
that
is something very triumphant to her returning to it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that like maybe the movie is kind of putting saying her being addicted to being a scumbag and like and newest news story, like that is not the aberration. The aberration is this normative life that she yearns for, right? The moral is that she's kidding herself about wanting to be a normal person,
Yeah.
rather than her having this kind of toxic relationship with her work and with another guy. Like she's like that stuff is kind of like it's just there, but she likes it, you know? Kind of a phantom thread ending.
Yeah, actually, that not a bad comparison. I do kind of like how, yeah, the movie is like ends on this note of like, no, no, reject like normal stuff. Like it is a triumphant ending where like the character embraces this like chaotic but really like energizing lifestyle. But also kind of like expression, right? Like her whole thing is that she's really, really good at journalism and is a
Mhm.
really good writer and can like get people to talk to her in a way that other people can't.
Yeah.
As a weird eccentric artist person myself, I do definitely see the I did kind of I didn't cheer at the end of this movie, but I was like I was in a good mood. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
good ending. And also, yeah, it feels like especially a lot of like romantic comedies or like we were just saying, like they usually end in this way where it is like, no, at the end of the day, we're embracing this kind of like very stable or like normative status quo at the end. No matter
Mhm.
what crazy hijinks happened earlier, I do like how this movie kind of ends on a thing like, no, no, the hijinks will continue. We are doubling down on the hijinks of this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, since we've been watching these post-code movies, I think one of the more surprising things to me is how these movies don't necessarily feel like too much less edgy than the ones pre the code. Like there are ways that you can tell, but there's still an edge to them. There still can be an edge
Mhm.
to them. And in a way, like I think that people got very deft at navigating the code very
Yeah,
quickly
yeah,
because the code is really just some boxes that have to be checked.
hmm,
And it doesn't it doesn't say all movies must be G rated. It just has these like weird arbitrary rules about like what can and cannot happen in a movie, and as long as you can work around that, then you can be relatively filthy.
yeah. There is a moment like kind of halfway through this movie where the stakes suddenly become way bigger, right? Where the guy they're like at the prison to interview breaks out and has a gun, and they're like the cops are shooting Tommy guns everywhere. And also, this movie is like very. This movie does not have a very, I guess, positive view of like the police either. It feels like it kind of portrays them as kind of buffoonish
Right.
and dangerous. Also, a lot of the time when it's like we're sending every cop out to look for this guy, and they're like almost running people over. They're shooting Tommy guns at all the windows, just willy nilly.
Yeah.
All the reporters are like, "Excuse me, we're up here." That stuck out to me as like, oh, we've established this. It's about romantic tension and like newspaper stuff, and then kind of halfway through, it's like, right. There's a whole scene where the guy is like confronting Hildy with a gun, and she has to like talk him down so she doesn't get shot.
Hmm.
And it's like the stakes get a lot higher than I thought that they would for a movie like this.
But like I think that like what's notable is that in some ways they're just kind of blasé about these really high stakes, you know.
Yeah, they're too busy talking on two different phones at once, back and forth.
Yes. The most iconic scene, definitely.
That and another sort of, I guess, gif or meme that comes out of this movie is the Cary Grant saying "Get out" and pointing to the door. That's a gif I've seen many times.
Man, how many 40s memes have you seen?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just it's at the right corner of the internet that I see a lot of 40s memes. But I think they're not like in
Oh,
context with that. I feel like the Pinocchio thing and Cary Grant pointing at the door are not usually in the context of them being from the 40s. You know what I mean?
you're right. I have seen this GIF. Okay.
And as soon as it happened in the movie, I was like, "Yep, there it is." There was a joke in this that really reminded me of an Arrested Development joke that does feel like a kind of like post code joke in the same way that like Arrested Development jokes are like we can only do so much on Fox because it's a network show, but we're going to be creative about it and somehow make it like even more uh transgressive, I guess. There was this joke in this movie where I forget who says it, but they're talking on the phone because 90% of this movie is people talking on phones.
Yelling on the phone.
Yeah. Shot right in the classified ads. No ads.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that
which
was
is like a joke through inference, right? It's like ads sounds like ass, but they don't say it.
yeah.
They just plant that in your brain by having the person repeat it, which is it feels like a very Arrested Development type joke. Like they use that kind of humor a lot in that show
Oh,
of
yeah,
like
like the blown away thing in Arrested
right.
Development. Yeah.
Yeah, you forgot to say away again. Right where it's like they can get away with making pretty filthy jokes just by like saying a word that sounds similar to something or like so I don't know that joke I wrote down like really stuck out to me of like that's good writing
Yeah.
and also like good example of ways in which like it's pretty easy to kind of circumnavigate all the kind of dumb rules of the Hayes Code.
You got anything else on His Girl Friday?
Oh, Cary Grant name drops his actual name, Artie Leach, at one point.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
I'm not entirely sure even why. It's like he's using that to like as if it's like some other person he knows. Yeah, but weird and notable that he was like stealthily just like saying his own name in a movie.
It's like how when Tom Cruise is in a movie, he just sometimes goes, Tom Cruise.
But Tom Cruise is his actual name,
Yeah.
or
Actually, it might not be, right?
it's not his actual last name. Cruise is part of like as far as I know that is part of his legal first name.
He says Thomas Cruise Mapother the Fourth.
Yeah, exactly. He says that in Top Gun Maverick.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's probably about it. I'd been looking forward to watching His Girl Friday for a while. That was like one
Me
where I
too.
was like, yes,
Yeah,
I want to see people yell into phones.
it was a really fun one.